What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's time to do another mock draft, but first, as always, gonna go over the news, the stat of the day, the poll from last week. So let's just hop right into it. Barely any news to go over this week. We're not gonna get much news before the draft, so about another month until we really start picking up in this area. Because free agency is like kind of over, and then once the draft happens, oh my goodness, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. Once OTAs happen, once preseason happens, plenty of things to go over. Right now, not that much. So we got Jordan Howard signs with the Eagles. I don't really care. Not a big impact here. He was garbage on the Dolphins last year. Then he did actually sign with the Eagles, played like 18 snaps. Don't be concerned. If this is actually an impact Miles Sanders, then he wasn't going to be good anyways, right? It's a similar thing with Joe Mixon here. Giovanni Bernard gets released. Again, no impact. Like if Giovanni Bernard and Jordan Howard were going to severely limit the potential of Mixon and Miles Sanders, well, then these signings, like, they weren't going to change anything, right? Like, them being there, them not being there. If they're not good enough to beat out these guys, then they're probably not going to succeed that well in fantasy anyway. So don't look at this too much. They're opposites, obviously. Like Jordan Howard signing would maybe make you fearful for Miles Sanders. Don't be. Giovanni Bernard leaving would make you be like, oh my goodness, Mixon's getting all the work. He should have been getting all that anyways. The biggest issue is not Giovanni Bernard. It is the offensive line. They need to fix the offensive line in Cincy. Then Mixon can be better. And of course, he's going to need Joe Burrow to be healthy. The one thing that is news is Sam Darnold gets traded to the Panthers. So of course, they've said, they're like, oh, that this hasn't like necessarily solved our problem. Like we're still looking in the draft. Let's be honest, like it's pretty likely that Darnold will be the starting quarterback for the Panthers this season. In my opinion, this is an upgrade for McCaffrey, Moore, and Robbie Anderson. The Jets are just not a good organization. People just are terrible when they play for them. So am I ready to just completely write off Sam Darnold because he performed poorly on the Jets? No, I do think we can't just like assume he's fantastic, but I don't think we should assume he's awful. Like anyone who's only played for the Jets, let's see him play for another team, and then we can reevaluate. If he stinks again on the Panthers, well, now maybe he's a bad player. But until that happens, I'm not willing to just completely write him off. And, you know, this could be a good offensive fantasy, especially if they remain this condensed. Like in the draft, they could obviously add some weapons, but I mean, it's pretty condensed core of like McCaffrey, Moore, and Anderson getting like the bulk of the workload. If that continues into the season, we could have some really, really nice weeks. So excited about that potential. Let's go over the poll from last week. Wasn't really too much to talk about here. It was a pretty obvious one. So it was basically, would you rather do what we did and take Stafford and James Robinson, or have taken Kyler earlier? And then in that Stafford range, the best options were like Kenny Gainwell, Lynn Bowden, Sermon, like weren't really guys we were very excited about. So 86% of you agreed, like, yeah, just take Stafford and James Robinson. So you don't necessarily need quarterback early, but Stafford's like that one guy, right? That one guy that if we're not getting someone like early mid, we're targeting Stafford. And he's like basically the only guy that breaks my rule of I want mobile quarterbacks, unless it's like Matthew Stafford or I guess Tom Brady, but Stafford this season, I really think is going to have a great year. So, stat of the day, and then we will jump into the mock draft. So, yesterday's question said there were 4 active running backs with at least 50 receptions in each of their first 3 seasons. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Tariq Cohen, and I said, who was the 4th? The answer, Duke Johnson, and Old Man Jay on YouTube, and at Jacob, and then a bunch of numbers on Twitter. First, get that one right. Today's stat, just 2 rookie tight ends have ever had more than 90 targets in their rookie season, of course. Jeremy Shockey is one. I said, who is the other? And a hint, since there's a lot to choose from, this player was drafted in the last 7 years, and they're playing right now. So it's like an active player, not retired, and drafted in the last like 7 years, not necessarily 7 years ago, just in the last 7 years. So, do the mock draft. We did 11 last time, so I don't want to do like a late one. And we are going to do a 10-team one this time, so we won't do late. I'll randomize it, and whichever one we get for early and middle, we will do that. So, click randomize, 5. All right, we'll do from the 5 spot. I added benches because, I don't know, I just felt like it. There's actually not really a reason I did that. We're going to change this, I believe. So, last time we moved this up, we'll move it back down. Let's say, so 10-team league, I would say, yeah, I know, I would say very high. People are probably going to go after quarterbacks. I don't think any other position is necessarily different. I guess we can say high for tight end. I'm not going to put it all the way at the top, but we'll say high. I don't think running back and wide receiver really get affected all that much in a 10-team league. So we'll keep those settings there, and we will start the draft. And like I said, it's a half PPR in this one. So going from the 5 spot, got to imagine, yeah, the first couple picks. I mean, running backs, it's going to be the same first round. We don't need to spend too much time on this. But we get McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry come off the board. So we'll pull up roster, we put that away, and we'll grab our cheat sheet, and we will hide the drafted players. So our option is we take Saquon Barkley. If you look at my rankings, you can't see it, but they're on the screen for me here. Barkley's number 2. So I have the running backs that are left on the board. Barkley, then Taylor, then Chubb, then Zeke right before Aaron Jones. But definitely Barkley's the last person in that first tier, so I mean we're going to end up taking him. But if you didn't go with him, you could definitely go with Devonta Adams. I'm never going to tell someone that it's like too early to take Adams. Like, of course, I think that you should be taking like these elite running backs first, but it's Adams. Like, if someone actually, like in a draft I was going for, took Adams at 1, like before McCaffrey, before Barkley, before all these guys, I'm not going to laugh at that, especially in like a full PPR league. I'm not going to laugh at that and be like, okay, yeah, you just got like pretty clearly the best fantasy wide receiver who was literally dropping like 30 points a game last year. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a good pick. So I get that question sometimes. What's the point where you would take Adams? I mean, right now, I personally have it McCaffrey, Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, then Adams. If you want to take Adams over Alvin Kamara, especially if Taysom Hill is the quarterback, that's fine. If you're in a full PPR league and you want to take Adams over Henry, that's fine. If you're scared about injuries with Dalvin Cook, you're scared about the recovery with Barkley, you can move Adams up to 2. Like, again, I really don't care. I do think McCaffrey is pretty clearly someone you would want over Adams, but up to 2. I wanted to point that out. So we'll pull up the board here. Looks pretty standard. We see Kelsey go in the first pick of the second round. We see Mahomes go in the 4th pick of the second round. For wide receivers, we do see Adams go one after me. We see Tyreek Hill, Diggs, and Hopkins go. And then we see Chubb, Zeke, Taylor, and Aaron Jones. So this is actually not a fantastic spot for us to be in. We basically just hit the end of like, kind of like the end of that elite tier at running back. Like, obviously, there's still great options at running back. But that like elite tier where it's like, if we got 2 of those guys, I mean, that's a fantastic start. We miss out on Kelsey. We don't get Mahomes. We weren't going to go after Mahomes, but and then we miss out on like the top tier of wide receivers. So it's not a great spot to win right now. We do have to like start that next tier. So let's just think about what will be available at our next pick. We're going to see 8 picks go by before we pick here. So let's just think about what do we think the next 8 picks will be. Well, I don't think a quarterback is going to go. I think that yeah, we'll add up 8 and see what's left, but technically it would be 9 because like we have to pick one. But let's just pick 9 players actually. We think Austin Eckler will go, Akers, Gibson, Miles Sanders, maybe like these 4 running backs, probably Kelsey, and then probably Metcalf, Ridley, AJ Brown. But that actually might be it. So that's only 8. So we might actually see Swift go as well. So if we take one of those 9, it's possible that our next pick will be between like Jefferson, Michael Thomas, Robinson, Keenan Allen. And then at running back, we're still going to be choosing between like potentially Swift, but then like Mixon, Dobbins, James Robinson, guys that are still pretty talented. So my thinking here is grab one of these wide receivers that we want, and then we're still going to get a running back that's like pretty close to some of these other running backs. And you know what? Maybe we get lucky and we can still grab Kittle in the next round. But I do think DK Metcalf or AJ Brown, it's really just like your preference on that one. I'll pull up what I have. So yeah, I have Metcalf right ahead of AJ Brown. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem if you went like one of those 2. But I think lock up one of those guys. Hope we can get a nice value at other spots. Looks like basically what we figured happened would go. But we do see Josh Allen go. So we see Akers, Eckler, Miles Sanders, like we said. We see A.J. Brown, Ridley, Michael Thomas. We see Kittle, and then we see Josh Allen. So who was like the one player that Gibson. So Gibson didn't go. Gibson turned into Josh Allen there. So I haven't done Gibson in the video. I did the Swift versus Dobbins. We said we were taking Dobbins ahead of Swift. But I'm going to do a video breaking down Antonio Gibson and how much I love him this season. And I think it makes a lot of sense to take Gibson here. We've missed out on the top 2 tight ends. We would still love Darren Waller, but not in the 3rd round. Probably wait until this 4th round picks. Hopefully we can get him. It kind of is like Kelsey. I want to pull it up. Kelsey, you're kind of looking at him like late 1st, early 2nd. If you miss out on him, Kittle, late 2nd, early 3rd. If you miss out on him, Waller, I would say is more like this range, like 4th round. So if we can get him in the middle of 4th round, that would be good. But again, this is also a 10-team league, so we kind of do want those positional advantages. But I don't think I would go with Waller here. I think you lock up Gibson. You take 2 running backs that you're like supremely confident are going to be heavily featured in their offense, are clearly talented from like a physical standpoint, are just a great situation to succeed on an offense that is ascending. So I love Gibson. You guys know I love Gibson. We see Waller go 2 picks before us. That's unfortunate. And we see Dak go. So each round we're kind of getting rid of a quarterback. So running backs, we see Mixon, James Robinson, Dobbins, and Swift go. That makes sense. Wide receiver, Jefferson, Allen Robinson, Julio Jones, and Keenan Allen are all taken. So we can take Kyler Murray here. Really obviously like Kyler Murray here. Kind of begins a tier break, although I'll say there's not like a significant difference between Kyler and like Lamar, Rodgers. Then I see a pretty big gap. So it'd be nice to grab one of them. They have a tier break between Clyde and Josh Jacobs. I can pull up my rankings. I don't believe I totally have that as the case. I mean, definitely to Jacobs. Okay, I have Jacobs in a different tier, but I have Clyde in the same tier as Chris Carson and David Montgomery and Chase Edmonds, who are all still on the board. So my thought there is we're again at the 8-1. And again, this is something you guys should be doing when you're like in your draft. Like obviously here, it simulates so quickly that it's like my turn every time and I take too long for like the actual clock would take. But as you're going through, just count off. Be like, okay, counting me, there's 9 picks that need to go off the board. I think Kyler will be one of them. I think we're probably going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 4 to 5 of these running backs. We could actually see a run at wide receiver, so maybe some of these running backs are still on the board. Maybe we see Mark Andrews go, but probably not. And so just like think about what am I going to get at the next pick? And when you kind of go through with that, I do think I can get one of Clyde, Dave Montgomery, Chris Carson, or Chase Edmonds at my next pick, those 4. And if I don't, it probably means that I'm going to get another really good wide receiver, or I can get Kyler Murray. And so I don't think I need to take one of them at this pick. And we actually talked about that a little bit last week, but I just want to keep going over that. And it was a similar range. Like it's this, pull it up here. It's this range in this like 4th, 5th round where you have that decision to make. Do you triple up on running back? Do you switch to another position? Do you get that second wide receiver? And this helps you make that decision. Where is the next pick going to be? So because we think we're going to get one of those, but if we didn't, we'd be fine taking 2 wide receivers, taking Kyler Murray. I think we take our favorite wide receiver here, even if we don't think there's a huge gap. I do think McLaurin is an excellent pick. I would just be a little bit hesitant spending 2 of my first 4 picks on players from Washington. I think it's an ascending offense, but I think you're putting there's a lot of draft capital into that. I made the video where I said I'm taking Mike Evans over Chris Godwin. I want to make sure. Yeah, so I have Amari Cooper ahead of Mike Evans. I have Robert Woods ahead of all of them. That's actually the one. So my rankings for what's left on the board is Woods, then McLaurin, then Amari Cooper, then Mike Evans. So that's interesting because do we think Robert Woods will actually just be on the board anyways? Okay, we have a decision to make. I actually think the decision is, do we just grab Kyler here? Since we said we're cool with either one of these two, let's do that, and then we'll see how that kind of works out in the draft. Because there's going to be a wide receiver or running back that I'm cool with at this next pick, at least more than likely. So if 3 of the running backs are still there. So definitely what I was saying before with taking not taking the running back, I think definitely holds true. We were probably going to get one at this pick. But we see a run at wide receiver. Mari Cooper, Godwin, McLaurin, Woods, Moore, Evans, they all go. So that's unfortunate. But it's not the end of the world because we can just take one of these running backs. And then I think there's still going to be a great option at our next pick. So it would be between Clyde, Carson, and Chase Edmonds. Would be pretty epic if we could get Chase Edmonds at the next pick as well. But I do have Clyde. No, I have Carson. I have Carson over Clyde. What do we think about that? Put that one in the comment section. I feel like that all depends on the draft. Because, right now, there's really no one competing with Clyde, and they already spent a first-round pick on him, so they clearly invested in him. And he was still good last season. Suffered some of the injuries, and he was still a rookie. Didn't necessarily perform into first-round level for fantasy, but he was still a quality running back. But let's say they come out of the draft and they don't even spend a top 6 pick, top 5 pick on a running back. I mean, that clearly means they're invested in Clyde and he can have a phenomenal season and would be such a good value in the 5th round. But there's also the risk that they looked at last season. They're like, okay, you didn't exactly do what we thought you were going to do. Maybe we bring in, a running back to compete. But is running back really the position that they need to upgrade? I guess it just wouldn't make much sense to me for them to try again at running back early. So what do you guys think? Clyde or Chris Carson for this pick? I know Seattle wants to run the ball. I really don't know what I would pick here. I mean, I literally have them separated by a single spot. Chris Carson is 34th overall in my rankings right now, and Clyde is 35th overall in the rankings. So they're right next to each other. In the back of my mind, I'm leaning Clyde because I'm just trying to shoot for the upside. We'll do it. We'll take Clyde. Maybe I'll change that in the rankings, but let me know what you guys think. It looks like we are going to get... we almost got Carson there. It looks like we have the opportunity to take Chase Edmonds. Now, with our team, we've got Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson, Clyde, and if we can add Chase, we're pretty much set. We're pretty much just hey, we don't need a wide receiver, or we don't need a running back for the next 5 or 6 picks. You can just hammer out wide receivers. The problem is, again, it's just like we were at last time we wanted to take Chase Edmonds. It's okay, but I love T. Higgins. I love Brandon Ayuk. I think that Tyler Lockett is great. Sutton is great. But I would really like to take, one of these 3 and one of these guys right here. Do I necessarily need Chase Edmonds? Let's see how it'll work this way. I think last time we didn't take Chase Edmonds. We regretted it. Let's go back. We'll take Chase Edmonds this time, and we'll just see how it kind of works out. They're saying it's a reach. Again, just looking at things they've got basically one opportunity in the draft to take a running back to replace Chase Edmonds. And if they don't do it, which really don't think they're going to do, there's a chance he's seeing 20 to 25 touches a game this season on a very, very good offense on an ascending team that he could easily be a running back 1. And I do believe we just locked up 4 players who have running back 1, not necessarily overall, but I would say that all of Saquon, obviously Saquon could be the running back 1 overall. I think Gibson could be a top 7 running back easily. Clyde, if they start featuring him, could be a top 7 running back. And Chase Edmonds, if they feature him, top 7 running back. So I've locked up 4, and I think we're just going to hammer out wide receiver at this point. We're in the range of tight end where it's don't bother. If you didn't get one of those top 3, wait until the very end, because at this point, virtually everyone is the same. You guys know that we like Logan Thomas, although we have Gibson. We like Irv Smith. Tyler Higbee is definitely an option. Cole Kmet. There's just a lot that are very similar. Gerald Everett. Pitts you could even go for. So I don't think we're even looking there. So let's just zone in, hone in on wide receiver. So I'll pull up wide receiver in the rankings here. I want to say, yeah, this is another one, back to back. Deontay, then Ayuk, then T. Higgins is what I have. The one hesitancy on Deontay is, okay, the drops were a concern last season. If that continues in the offseason and Chase Claypool takes a step up, it's like, do they change their offense where they're not just peppering Deontay with targets? I don't think that will be the case. I do still think he's going to have a very, very large role in the offense. We'll take Deontay. We'll hope that one of those two, they're not going to be, but we were hoping that one of Ayuk or Higgins is going to be available at our next pick. They are not, but let's just keep going at wide receiver. So I'm not as much on Will Fuller this season because I'm not going to say that Watson made him because Will Fuller is still an exceptional talent, but he fits so well with Watson. He had those explosion games where he was hitting deep. I don't know if that's going to happen on Miami. And so I have concerns there. Tyler Boyd, I have a lot of concerns with because I don't know if they're going to take, I feel like they could take a wide receiver early. They could take Jamar Chase. And so that would be concerning to me. As a Tyler Boyd owner, I'd be like, oh, wow, they have T. Higgins and Chase ahead of him. He's probably not going to get that many targets, so I don't love that. DJ Chark is absolutely an option. If we think Trevor Lawrence is going to be their quarterback, obviously, he's going to be a good quarterback. Definitely has a lot of upside. I don't want to take Chase Claypool. I would think about taking him here, but we just got Deontay. Don't want two Pittsburgh receivers. Don't really want anything to do with Houston, so we're not going to take Brandon Cooks. So I guess Deebo Samuel would be an option. Robbie Anderson would be an option, but I think you take DJ Chark here. Again, I love Laviska Shenault. I think Marvin Jones was from a football standpoint a good ad for them, but DJ Chark is still, in my opinion, the best receiver on this team, and he's a significant deep threat. He sees a lot of upside weekly in fantasy. He can hit for 150 2 touchdowns. Those are kind of the players that I'm looking for, especially when they're bringing in a new quarterback that's clearly going to be an upgrade. A lot of upside. Again, I feel like I would take Chase Claypool here. We're abandoning all these other positions. We don't need them. I would probably take Claypool if I had no other option and I hadn't taken obviously Deontay. But I think Robbie Anderson, with the things that we talked about earlier, in that I think Sam Darnold's an upgrade. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that Teddy Bridgewater just was not aggressive enough, is not aggressive enough deep, doesn't take enough chances, isn't good enough at the deep ball, that it wasn't a perfect fit with Robbie Anderson. But Sam Darnold has that upside. We thought he was going to be a good quarterback coming into the league. He's got that upside to potentially connect deep with Robbie Anderson. He's already played with Robbie Anderson, right? They already have connected deep in their career. So this isn't exactly a situation where it's he's got a new quarterback. How are they going to fit? Well, they already played together, So I think there's some definite upside there. And he still had a good season last year. We're still going to go with wide receiver. Still keep hammering that out. Don't love Marquise Brown. They just clearly don't know how to use him. They don't want to throw the ball a ton. It's a little frustrating because they could be such a good offense if they used him a lot, but also bringing in Watkins. Not in love with that. You go with Corey Davis because he's pretty clearly the top wide receiver, but who's their quarterback going to be? Is the quarterback going to be any good? Can anyone perform well on the Jets? So that's a tough one, but definitely has a chance to have a massive target share. I don't really want to go after Gallup. I I really do think Amari is clearly the best receiver. CeeDee Lamb is going to be right up there very soon. I don't want to take the third receiver on Dallas. Laviska, normally would love him, but I'm not going to take Chark and Laviska. So we can look at Mike Williams, taking a step forward with Herbert in his second season. We can look at this Pittman and T.Y. Hilton range. We can take a chance on Antonio Brown. See if there are any rookies. Devonta Smith. I feel like we could take. I feel like we could do Mike. I don't know who I would take between Corey Davis and Mike Williams though. Let's see. I should have Devonta Smith, then Corey Davis, and then Mike Williams behind even that like Pittman and T.Y. Hilton range. That might be a little bit low on Mike Williams. I might have to bump him up a little bit. But I guess my rankings say optimally that I would take Corey Davis and then I would take Devonta Smith. I guess that does make sense. I mean, Corey Davis, who else are they going to throw to? I mean, I know it's Denzel Mims we like as a talent. They might even lose Crowder because they might not be able to afford to pay him. I don't know. They clearly went all in on Corey Davis. I guess that maybe we should have just taken Devonta Smith. I thought he was going to be available at the next pick. So maybe the pick was to take Smith there, but I'm fine with Corey Davis. So now we've maybe finished off our run at wide receiver. Because now at wide receiver, we were lacking, but taking those three in a row, we've got DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Chark, Robbie Anderson, Corey Davis. I feel like we've got like enough talent there to where we can consider going back to running back here. Because we got like Barkley, Gibson, Clyde, Chase Edmonds. We're very comfortable with that. I'm honestly only going to take one receiver at this next like 3 bench spots or 1 running back. I guess it's just like, who do we want that running back to be? I guess we could just take James Conner. I mean, I don't think James Conner's going to be in Pittsburgh, but what if James Conner landed on the Dolphins? Like, I don't think that's going to happen. I do think the Dolphins want to draft their running back and feature him. But there's definitely a situation where James Conner could end up on a team, and we're in a range, 11th round, where it's like, we're just purely taking, hey, if James Conner like never works out, doesn't even like sign on a team besides being like a number 3, then that's fine. I'll just drop him. Like the success rate's like 20% in this range anyways. So if we can't find another option, I mean, honestly, just James Conner probably has more upside than most of the players on this list. Yeah, no one on this list. I mean, Javonte Williams, if you thought that he was going to be doing good. Kenny Gainwell, if you liked him. But it'd really just be looking at the rookies if you wanted them. But you might as well. You might as well just take James Conner here. We'll go after 2 wide receivers. Maybe we just take our favorite. Who is my favorite tight end? I don't know who I have ranked first between Logan Thomas and Irv Smith. It's definitely one of those two. I have Irv Smith 90th overall, Logan Thomas 91st overall. So both a value at this point. And I feel like maybe just take Irv here because I mean, there's so many wide receivers. Like at this range, they're practically all like the same player. I don't really care which one I get. So we'll do that. We'll take Irv. We'll take our 2 wide receivers. We'll take our 2 wide receivers and then our defense, and we'll call it a day. So we'll grab, we're thinking about Mike Williams a long time ago. Might as well just take him now. And then we'll see. Yeah, everyone that looks like they're on the board still is like the same. Like Rager, I guess the Eagles dropped back. I thought they were going to take Jamar Chase. Kind of made a lot of sense for them to take Jamar Chase in the first round. But they dropped back. They're not going to get him anymore. So Rager has the upside to be the number 1 in this offense. And even if he's not like featured, and even if they take, what if they took Devonta Smith? What if he's available at the Eagles pick now? Like Rager's still going to be used, and I still thought he was a really good receiver coming into the draft and coming into the season last year. So he's definitely an option. We could take Darnell Mooney. They're actually trying to shop Anthony Miller, but I think Mooney could have a really nice year with Dalton. Aguilar could be the number 1 in New England. AJ Green, if you thought like he was still good, like I don't, so I'm not going to take him. But if you thought he was still good, could take him. That's probably what you'd be. That's probably what you'd be choosing between. I'm going to take Rager though. I think because I like Jalen Hurts so much, I think he can be a really, really good quarterback, and I think that Jalen Rager fits with Hurts. I think he can have a really good year, and I think he has the opportunity to not have like a Deontay Johnson-like year, but be used in that similar way where it's like they'll still use Rager deep, but they'll use him Also on a lot of like screen passes, get the ball into his hands quickly and just let him run after the catch because he's really good in that area. So I think Rager can have a really good year. And then we will we'll take Washington. That would actually be a really good defense to take. So I think this is a really good team. We get a good grade, though we don't care about the grade. But I do like this team a lot. And I think that, like I said, we still value tight end and quarterback higher in 10-team leagues, but not to a situation where like we need to go out and like 5th overall take Kelsey and then have to force ourselves to take Kittle in the next round. Like it just didn't happen here. We were always willing to take at like that next pick, take the tight end. But I love them this season, but it's not that you need to just like force them in to your teams, right? Like we still got Irv Smith. I still think Irv Smith's going to be exceptional this season. We had other options, so you don't need to. And then, of course, we got Kyler Murray, which I have as like the 2nd or 3rd best quarterback this season, so we definitely like that. But here's the starting lineup. For those of you listening on iTunes, Spotify, Kyler Murray, Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Irv Smith, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the football team defense. And then we've got a nice little correlation there with Gibson and the football team. And then at the bench spots, we've got Chase Edmonds. I don't know why I couldn't speak there. Chase Edmonds, DJ Chark, Robbie Anderson, Corey Davis, James Conner, Mike Williams, and Jalen Reagor. I'll say that I think the starting lineup is exceptional. I think the bench is like good. Obviously, Chase Edmonds is like the best bench running back you can get. And I do think Chase Edmonds and James Conner packs a lot of upside there. I'll say that the wide receivers, like, we've got a lot of like quality receivers, but I would still be surprised if like Reagor, Williams, Anderson, Corey Davis, like I'd be surprised if any of them turned into a wide receiver one. So that would probably be like throughout the season if we had this team. That would be like our mission to build a championship team is can I combine after a few good weeks like 2 of these guys and potentially even a running back as well into another stud receiver because I would want to pair DK Metcalf with like another, top 7 receiver if I'm building a championship team. That would be my first order of business. And then if Irv Smith didn't work out, my next order of business would be can I turn the rest of my bench or players I added into a Waller, Kittle, or Kelsey. And then once those 2 things happened, then I think the rest of this team just falls into place beautifully. But I think that's basically it for this one. Our one decision point was this Kyler Murray range, but I kind of don't want to do another poll with using Kyler Murray and then going back here and taking Stafford. Although maybe no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that again. It was literally the exact same thing. So if we didn't do that one, I guess Clyde was our next decision point. When we were thinking about Clyde, no, it was actually just Clyde or Chris Carson. So that'll be our thing. That'll be our poll. Who would you rather on your team? In a half PPR league, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Chris Carson? Maybe I make that one into a video as well. I don't think that one's listed. But who would you guys pick between those 2? That'll be the poll for next week. So that's the end of this one. Hope you all enjoy. If you did, then how about hitting that like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new? Thanks for watching.